Plenty of Saints news to discuss in today's video. We're going to be talking about an Alvin Kamara update around the potential suspension. Michael Thomas spoke to media yesterday after practice got done. And then to round today's show out, we're going to talk about the highlights and observations from today's practice at training camp. Welcome into today's show, Saints fans. I'm your host, Trace Gerard. And to start things off, we have an update around the Saints running back. He is meeting with the commissioner, Roger the Clown Goodell, about his potential suspension. And Dennis Allen today took to the podium and said this: I think Alvin really wants to get ahead of this and have a chance to visit with Roger and kind of give him his side of the story. And look, at the end of the day, I think part of it is, let's get some resolution to where we're at, and then let's move forward. So I think Alvin, is looking forward to putting this behind him and focusing in on what he has to do to be the best he can for our team this season. And I know he said that today. That was actually in yesterday's press conference, so my apologies there. But the latest around AK-41, in case you've been living under a rock or in case you just didn't know, he was initially charged with conspiracy to commit battery and substantial bodily harm. Dude, that happened during the Pro Bowl weekend in Las Vegas in 2022. It has been pleaded down to a misdemeanor charge of a breach of peace on July 11th. That happened recently, and Kamara could still face a suspension. My take: I think that we could still get closure on this situation pretty soon. I think 4 to 6 games feels like the outcome, but I would love to be wrong on that. And when I say I'd love to be wrong on like the bottom, on the lighter half of it. If it's more than 6 games, I would hate to be wrong. That'd be one of the worst takes I could have possibly ever had. However, I would love to see this be an instance where Roger Goodell hears out Alvin Kamara and says, you know what? I hear your side of the story. I understand the context of what went down. I kind of see what the real story was, or at least what his perspective and his point of view was as to why it went down. I would love to see it be like a 2 to 3 game suspension, something less than 4. I can confidently say that, though. I don't know if it'll make much of a difference. So still thinks 4 to 6 games makes sense in terms of a suspension. But like I said, I would love for it to be less. So, Saints fans, fill in the blank for me before we keep this thing moving. I'm going to talk about why it's important for Alvin Kamara to be back on the Saints this season in as long as possible and as many games as possible, because I think he's a key part of the success. But let me know, fill in the blank. Kamara will be suspended blank games in 2023. All right, so AK-41, he's a key aspect in terms of the success for the New Orleans Saints. There are plenty of weapons that Derek Carr has that can really, really make an impact on the offensive side of the ball. And Alvin Kamara is one of the most electric, one of the most fascinating, and one of the most tantalizing players, especially at the running back position in the NFL. And DA, he spoke a little bit more about Kamara, saying, he said, look, we're working, practicing, getting better. Alvin's going to be a huge part of what we do this year. We'll take things in stride and how they happen, or take things in stride and how they happen. We'll deal with, anything we have to deal with. We'll deal with it when the time's right. And that just kind of proves that Dennis Allen's saying, I want this to be a big part of the season. I want Alvin Kamara to be a key aspect in the offense. And in terms of getting it back to football and away from the suspension talk, because, it's football season. Let's talk some ball. Kamara was getting work with the wide receivers again at practice. We saw it a little bit yesterday. We saw some more, the previous training camp sessions. So I have a hot take for you. I think that we get to see vintage AK-41. I think that you get to see Alvin Kamara have the ball as a pass catcher a little bit more, working as a receiver, not just as a bell cow, but as a little bit of a receiving back more so, because adding that depth this offseason will, at the running back position, in drafting Kendre Miller and in signing Jamal Williams, will allow Kamara to focus more on his pass catching, which in my opinion is his best weapon. And so take a look at this graphic here. I'm going to keep this on screen for just a second because I want you guys to understand where I'm coming from here. So on the left side, in the gold section, that's his rushing yards and in the rushing production. On the right side in the black, you see his receiving production. So something that I noticed here, if you look at 2019 and 2020, the carries were way down as compared to 2021 and 2022. However, in 2019 and in 2020, when the carries are down, the receiving numbers are through the roof. They're significantly better. I mean, look at that 2020 season specifically. 83 receptions, 756 yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns to go on top of 16 rushing touchdowns, 932 yards, and 187 carries. And then when you look at 21 and 22, the numbers are a little bit skewed. So you have much more production or much more attempts rushing the ball because he had to be that guy. He didn't have Drew Brees throwing him the ball. He needed to be a better running back asset and less of a pass-catching asset. And that is why the production was down in the receiving room, because he was asked to do so much more as a rusher. So what do y'all think? Will we get to see vintage AK-41 type boom or bust? If you think he's going to go crazy like I do, get the booms in the chat. If you think that he might have a bad year, things might not go the way that we all hope they do, type bust. I better not see a single bust in that comment section. If I do, we're going to have a serious problem, and I'm going to call you out for being a Falcons fan. But you know what I'm not going to call you out for? Being a real one and subscribing today. And if you want more Saints news, rumors, updates, if you love the content, if you like me, even if you hate me, I'd still encourage you to subscribe. And if you're not going to do it for me, do it for Lance Moore, the most legendary guy to wear 16 for the New Orleans Saints. He wants us to hit 16K subs. We're at 15,400, 60-something. So I need us to get to 16,000 or 15,000. I think I said 14. We're at 15,000 subs. We want to get to 16,000 as soon as possible. Don't take my word for it. Don't take Lance Moore's. Take Justin Cook's. He put this comment on a video the other day, and I wanted to show him some love because I really appreciate comments like these. I really appreciate when guys take time out of their day to show us some love. So I wanted to show you some love as well, Justin. He says, the Superdome sits 70,000 plus. It's actually closer to like 80, 83,000. At least half of those have to be hardcore fans. Producer Seeps, I think we could all agree. If you have a stadium of 80,000 people, you got to assume 40,000 of them are real fans, and they're hardcore. And he continued to say this channel should be at least 30,000 subscribers. This is where you get the info if you're a real one. It's enough said. Subscribe, lock us in, turn on those nutties. All right, so let's talk some Michael Thomas because he spoke to media after practice yesterday in a press conference. He talked some interesting highlights. He talked about his injuries. He talked about Derek Carr. So let's just get all into it and let's break this all down. Michael Thomas gave an injury update saying, I feel like I'm trending in the right direction, taking every day, one day at a time, trying to execute at a high level. Come out here, make plays, move the chains for the offense. Take great coaching, correct my mistakes as soon as we get into the meeting room, and just come out here and add value. And I love that that is something that Michael Thomas is saying. He's not saying, I want to be the guy. I want to be the one who wins us games. I'm going to be the one. The pressure's on me. He's saying, no, I want to contribute. I want to help out. I have a role here, and I understand what that role is. And he also showed some love to the new quarterback, Derek Carr, and spoke highly of the chemistry that they have been building on. I think it's been progressing tremendously. Derek is a great leader. He's very vocal. He knows what he wants. He tells us what he wants. And as an offense, as a whole, we lean on him to be able to come out there and just make his job easier. And my favorite quote of the day, one of the reporters asked MT about, it's easy to assume there's a chip on your shoulder. You got a lot to prove. You have people who are doubting you. You have haters saying you're just a slant boy. You're always injury prone, which, let's call it how it is. In the past, he has been injury prone, but he's supposed to be 100% healthy this year. I love this from Michael Thomas. The chip is big. It's very big, and it grows every day. Giggity. But, sorry, I had to get that in. But I just love that Michael Thomas is just saying, I'm not satisfied. I know I have shit to prove, and I'm going to make that happen this year. So spam it in the comment section. If you're excited to see what DC4 and Can't Guard Mike can do this season, get the Hoodats in the chat. Y'all know the drill. It's the Hoodat Nation. I don't want just one or two. I want everyone to comment Hoodat, and I want you to comment it multiple times. If you bleed black and gold, get in the comment section. If you bleed black and gold, you need to get one of these hats. The NFL, they got new sideline hats available for you at Fanatics. We have a link, chatsports.com/Saints hats. I love this one right here. With Sir Saint, the retro logo, I think it's fresh. But if I had to get one, it's going to be this one. I'm a trucker hat kind of guy. That's just how I am. Y'all have seen me wear hats before. I'm a trucker hat kind of guy. And I think that I would rock this lid just so hard. I think I'd look funky fresh in that mug. So if you want to look dripped out just like I will, go to chatsports.com/Saints hat. Link will be available in the comment section and the description of today's video. All right, and to round today's show out, we're going to be discussing the training camp highlights, news, notes, and takeaways. Marshon Lattimore, he's the top story of the day, in my personal opinion. He has been dominating at training camp, and he looked so good today. I saw a tweet, I believe it was from Ross Jackson, but I saw a tweet out there that was saying he's just been locking it up at training camp. He's been working a lot against Michael Thomas, so I love seeing iron sharpen iron in this situation. Not just from Marshon to Michael Thomas, but MT to Lat. I think that it's a really good thing for both of those players to experience, going up against the best of the best. Gotta love it. Marshon's been absolutely dominant. I believe that he's only given up a handful of receptions too, which in 6 days of training camp, pretty damn impressive. Derek Carr, he's also been pretty impressed with Jake Haener. He's been saying he's been speaking very highly of his fellow Fresno State Bulldog. Haener, he is in a very good situation where he has two very seasoned veterans who have played a lot of football and have seen a lot of different things in this game and in this league, where he just has to come in and learn, absorb it, be a sponge, take all the information, take all the coaching, and take all the advice, and just be the best you can be. And I can say this right now, I'm so dang excited to watch Jake Haener in the preseason. I think we're going to see a lot of him. It's going to be a hell of a lot more fun to watch than that fraudulent book. Oh my goodness gracious. That was a travesty, producer Steve. I hated watching that. But you know what I also hate seeing? The offense struggle. But I will say this. It was the first time we've actually seen the offense have some issues in terms of training camp. The offense has looked pretty electric and pretty dang impressive throughout the entirety of the 6 days of training camp we've seen so far. So seeing them struggle today, it's all right. It happens, whatever you're going to do. But you got to give credit to the defense because they showed out. They made the offense's job very difficult. And call it how it is, that Saints defense is good. So I don't think it's a big deal that if the offense struggled. I wouldn't think too much into it, but definitely worth mentioning. And if you didn't know, practice was moved inside for today, and actually, I believe for the near future as well, because it's hot. You're in New Orleans. It's hot. August, doesn't really matter where you are. It's hot. So I think it's a good move. You got to bring them inside. You got to take care of the players. Got to take care of the coaches. Got to take care of the fans. Like, it just makes sense as to why they'd want to move inside. But I will say this. With everyone inside, the intensity was a lot higher. People were getting pretty excited to be on the field. You could see a lot of different players getting active, making plays, getting a little, not chippy, but talking a little bit more, if you will. So I love seeing that the intensity was higher. Obviously, when you're outside in the heat, it just drains everything out of you. So it's good to see the Saints getting that intensity back, and they are looking pretty strong as a unit so far. And in terms of some injury updates and injury news, these three players left early today. And guys, just going to go ahead and say it. Okay. Real quick, we're going to do something together. We're going to... Dennis Allen said it's not a big deal. These are all minor injuries. He's not worried about them. There's nothing to worry about. But you got to mention them because they did leave early. Alontae Taylor, one of my favorite players on the defense, to be 100% honest. Well, at least one of my favorite young players. He left early with a hamstring issue. Calvin Throckmorton, the offensive tackle, he left with an elbow injury. And Andrew Dowell, he left with a knee injury. It stinks. You're going to get bumps and bruises. You're going to get nicks. You're going to get cut. You're going to get a little bit pissed off when you're at training camp. It happens. It brings out the dogs in us. And having those pads on, let's call it how it is. If you're playing football and you ain't getting hurt, you ain't playing football. Like, I'm sorry. There's just never been a situation where a team has never had an injury over the course of the entire preseason and regular season. Like, that just hasn't happened. But anyway, Saints fans, I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. I hope you enjoyed today's show. As always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. I hope you guys have subscribed. If you haven't already, you have another chance to do it. Hit that sub button. Turn on your notifications. That way you never miss a thing. And as always, my name is Trace Gerard. Y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.